Alright, you guys, welcome back to Runtpack Goes Planewalking. Let's get into it. Now, as you can probably tell from the episode, this is not a real episode. This is, in fact, a recap.
Yeah, you guys, we're doing a recap episode today. So me and Maisy are going to do some introduction into the Runtpack. Runtpack Goes Planewalking is the current campaign.
Covering our first 5 episodes, so that if you want to jump in on episode 6, you can be ready in 10 minutes instead of, 20 hours.
Yeah, so we'll just run through it real quick. So this is the Runtpack's first recorded campaign.
So the campaign opened with 4 heroes awakening in Brightbank.
A small sort of pastoral village in the material plane sort of appeared here through what was effectively a portal, a rift opening in the fabric of space and time in Brightbank, spilling through it all sorts of creatures and entities from across the multiverse, along with our characters. Including
Hire, a little kobold cleric, worships the god Aether. Oh, and Hire is played by our good buddy Carter. New to having emotions and just feels them so deeply.
Hire comes from the mundane plane, where Aether rules as the only god there.
And Dulam, who is a small autognome sorcerer of the Clockwork Soul variety from Mechanicus.
It's played by our buddy Isaac. Dulam, of course, coming from Mechanicus, is all about order.
Deeply lawful. Questionably lawful.
Yeah, order by any means necessary.
Yeah, exactly. Very much if someone is screaming, the important thing to do is make sure they stop screaming and not necessarily make whatever happened right.
Next up, we've got Orpheus, played by Maisy.
That's me. Orpheus is a knight from the afterlife plane of Valhalla, who, as appearing here, given that he was from the afterlife and a ghost, has appeared in the body of a human living person named Aislinn. Orpheus was once a great soldier, but now as he is a short and weak person, is having a hard time with that, so he's trying to figure out how to use all of Aislinn's artificer gadgets in her bag.
Yeah, having spent an eternity in an afterlife fighting with a sword and maybe shield, Orpheus has to get used to modern technology and a very weak body.
It's a hard adjustment. Last up, we've got Jaya, played by Annette, who is a gif from a very militaristic society of Igroria, which is a sort of jungle planet.
And a gif is sort of like a hippopotamus person.
Yeah, in like a military outfit.
Yes, yeah.
So basically, he outlived the life expectancy of his people because he was a pacifist, and they were sort of sick of that shit. So they sent him to be like, you gotta either go become a hero or die.
Yeah, everyone in their society dies young, gloriously in battle, and old Jaya got too old not fighting, so...
Too lame a death.
Was sent on this mission.
So, Brightbank, we arrive in Brightbank. There we met the local government, led by Father Lucius, of course, a priest of Chantea. He did not dig our vibe. He wanted us and all the other creatures spit through the portals, which included some friends of ours, Vinny the Tiefling from Waterdeep, and Bagatha, who's like a little doll from the Beastlands?
From the Beastlands, yeah.
Yes, including them. He wanted us all gone. He wasn't sure if we should be sacrificed to Chantea or what, but me and our new companion, Malagus, a human man with strangely pointed ears that he doesn't want to address, we talked the father into letting everyone leave Brightbank.
Yeah, there were a lot of monsters that came through too, so there was a good reason, I would think, that he wanted them all shoved back through the portal or ritually sacrificed in front of it to make it go away.
You lose me with the sacrifice. But so we escaped to this grove nearby where some Tritons were living, also who the father didn't like, but so we took up with them for a little while.
Made their way into what was sort of this giant ent that had passed away and left this sort of grove around it. And this is where these Tritons were all living.
Yeah, and the Ent, who was fallen but still alive, told us that if we recovered an artifact that was poisoning their water supply beneath the earth, then he would redirect the portal to help us get closer to home. So we did that. We climbed through this stump cave into the depths.
All sorts of encounters in the depths here. They ran into strange architecture that was sort of like AI procedurally generated.
Didn't make sense. All patched together.
Fought a bunch of monsters.
Including imps who dance.
Well, they also found a hobgoblin man who was just living down there, who they kicked him out.
Yeah, we accidentally stole some of his stuff.
And eventually you guys found the source of all of these like strange generations.
Which is a small stone called the Architect, though we didn't know its name then, which Dulam put into its fanny pack.
Yes, Dulam now carries around this rock, which seems to increase the interior space of any closed container exponentially. And so now Dulam's bag has become a sort of endless void.
Sort of a pocket mansion. Got a lot of doors.
Mansion, yeah, a lot of doors in there.
I'd just like to say, we haven't seen this stone in a long time. It's gotten pretty far away from the entrance.
So they make their way out. The Ent is true on his promise and theoretically changes the destination of the portal.
In Brightbank, so of course we all rushed Brightbank. Some of us, the human passing of us through the streets.
No one was supposed to get hurt, but somehow a stick of dynamite that Malagus had offered to the group.
Yeah, and that makes it sound like Malagus' fault, but he gave it to the group to blow away out of the sewers, and Chaya repurposed it as more of a ballista weapon. But anyways, some guards were injured. Most unfortunately, as we made our final charge through the portal,
Pyre and Malagus pushed Father Luces through, dragging him along with them as they are all thrust through this portal.
Yep. We made it to the city of Circad, which lays in a small demi-plane about 50 miles in diameter and is surrounded by thick purple and blue forests.
An interesting part of Circad is the sort of architecture of it. All the buildings sort of are skyscrapers straight up, houses built one on top of another in strange
spires.
And this is because at night in this dimension, large tides swell up and basically fill the bottom 2 floors of every building as well as the entire dimension. It fills with these waves, and so these houses need to be built quite tall, with the bottom few floors effectively just serving as structural support as every night these rolling waves come through. Run by a woman called the Lady of Pain, who the party's not encountered yet.
Yeah, I'm just assuming she's really chill now. Also, as we arrived in Circad, Dulam received a notification saying that a Nonaton was coming to disable it and replace its core.
And a Nonaton is this sort of destructor murder bot from his home plane of Mechanus, which ideally would only be used to destroy sort of rogue robots. But in this case, Dulam is, I guess, considered rogue. So they all arrive in the city. The group runs into a couple lovable NPCs, the baker named Grimwalk, a strange wizard named Tufto.
And meanwhile, Father Luces is somewhat taken captive by Dulam, who can't let this disorderly being roam free.
Eventually, they all ran into Zavrix, a powerful wizard in Circad, and the only one who claims to be able to let people come and go through planar passageways.
Yeah, he's also, like, really hopped up all the time and aggro.
So he sent the group on a quest to retrieve his familiar from the Feywild, a small cat.
An orange cat named Nibbles, but when we went to the Feywild, after, failing to climb a mountain a lot of times, we found Nibbles in a sort of hot springs. It wasn't actually hot, but it was a hot springs vibe, comedically at the top of a tree. And in fact, Nibbles was a tabaxi girl who does not want to be a house cat and is only turned into a house cat when she's summoned as a familiar. But after some arguing, negotiating, crying on both sides, I think, we convinced her that if she would come back with us to help us get Zavrix to send us to Waterdeep, we would take her with us and maybe find a way to get her out of Zavrix's circles, get her out from under his thumb. We made it back from the Feywild and returned to an inn, which Malagus got for us, the Smoldering Corpse.
Malagus was very upset having to pay several nights of...
Malagus is kind of always upset. I don't know if we gave him his personality, but he's very whiny.
And so the group enters the Smoldering Corpse and meets Jackknife the Barkeep, who has a large metallic arm pulled from a robot from Mechanus.
Yeah, she's super cool. She also has goggles that are kind of like my goggles, so we bonded, I would say.
The Smoldering Corpse Tavern is, of course, famous for the giant flaming man in the center who is in a sort of endless torture.
Yeah, he's always sort of screaming. Well, Jackknife told us she would pay us if we could fix that problem by either silencing or, freeing him from his curse. We haven't really gotten to that one, though. I think the screaming makes it feel like home.
Here at the Smoldering Corpse, Orpheus encounters a friend, an old ally from Valhalla named Dionysia, who was also in a different body.
Another ghost possessing someone. Dionysia, as a ghost, was an advisor to the queen, very smart, and now is stuck in the body of a 10-year-old elven boy who is on the lam.
But the boy flees quickly, and the two don't get a long conversation. The next day, the group goes to an automaton repair shop called the Broken Compass to get Dulam sort of looked at, examined, to see what was going to happen when that Nonaton Destructor bot arrives.
Oh, and while we were there, we met, first off, Deimos, our newest party member, played by Xavier, who is a sort of Frankensteinian combination of different species sewn together. He's got like goat legs, dragonborn head,
and a lion's body.
A lion's
like
body.
Lion paws for
Yeah.
hands.
But bipedal.
But yeah, up on 2 goat legs. Deimos joins the group, having been a sort of a general shopkeeper boy for
An assistant.
an assistant for the owner of the shop.
Who's Samir, supposedly human, though he told Dulam in confidence that he is in fact a construct made of clay. So Samir explained to us that Dulam was actually being tracked by Mechanus because someone tampered with its interior when it was still living there, and also adjusted its memories. But the good news is Samir agreed to remove the tracker that they were using to track Dulam. But
This,
removing...
however, would not stop the Nonaton Enforcer bot to arrive, which had already been dispatched, so the group still was sort of dreading the arrival of this murder bot.
Yeah, Samir also warned us about some, like, march coming up that will compel all constructs to join it, and basically to take data on the material world for as long as it takes.
Samir warns of the Great Modron March.
Yeah.
And is willing to send off his young assistant, Deimos, to join the group, seeing that Deimos is wanting to explore the world and get out of the shop a bit.
Yeah, Deimos is a wizard who somewhat studied under Samir, though Samir is an artificer, same as Orpheus.
Samir also seemed to recognize the body that Orpheus occupies, Iceland. Apparently, her and Samir were good friends. Samir also identified the architect, the pebble that seemed to increase spaces, and identified it as an item that Iceland had stolen from the Lady of Pain. So, Dulam gets a notification that the Nonaton draws near, so the group makes their way out into the purple forest with the bright pink trees and set up a bit of a trap for the Nonaton at the edge of a cliff.
And there we left off. We were waiting for this Nonaton to arrive. Dulam had set up a tripwire. I think we're about to get our asses kicked.
Yeah, they're ready. The Nonaton is just arriving now. The group plans on waiting for those nightly tides of Circad to arrive and hopefully use it to their advantage to somehow push this Nonaton into the rolling waves and have the water take it away. But we'll see on the next episode. So please check us out.
And catch us every Monday on Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Podbean, anywhere you want to look, we're there. And feel free to comment or participate in our polls on Spotify. Very important. And if you got something to say it on the subreddit.
r/Runtpack. Please visit r/Runtpack. Our subreddit is hopping with fans and some art that you'll get to see from the members of the Runtpack.
Yes, any fan art you make, my eyes are on it. If you write fan fiction, I will read it no matter how deplorable.
So, we have been the Runtpack. We hope you enjoyed this little recap, and why don't you just make your way into our next episode and enjoy it?
Yeah. Like, follow, rate, subscribe, whatever other outdated social media things you can do. We'll catch you there.